You're watching The Fourth Estate on NTV. My name is Alan Kasuja. The Honorable Frank Tumwebaze is one of the panelists, as is Mr. Chris Obore and the Honorable Miriam Matembe, and of course Angela Izama. Thank you for being part of the show. Now, Frank, very briefly, you're trying to make a point.
The point I was trying to make was in response to Izer Anjema. That very good name. Sorry for the...
Izama, Angelo, yes.
Foreign policy, domestic policy is an extension of foreign policy, because no country is isolated and unique in its own way. If you live amidst unstable neighbors, the effects will spill over to you. So the way you shape your domestic policy will have a bearing on the international system. That's why Uganda cannot sit and watch as crimes are committed in Sudan, as crimes are committed in Burundi.
Okay.
Even if you are not Pan-Africanist enough, you would want to go and destroy the enemy before the enemy grows to come and attack you.
Fair enough.
That's a well-tested security operation methodology, and nobody should despise it.
Okay, let's do it very briefly, Angela. I think you're itching to say something, but you've got to be brief on that.
The point I was making is that foreign policy in Uganda has never really been debated in politics, because it has... Look, the president of the country can commit troops. Uganda is one of the only countries that no,
he
actually
owns
not.
the policy.
Yeah, is where foreign policy is so personalized, such that those of us who study these things and try to make sense of it have to contend with just reading patterns. That's why I was saying everywhere Uganda has followed, has sent troops, markets have followed. And in the theaters where Uganda has been, there has been a discussion of the ideological commitment, especially to Pan-Africanism. Could that be why Uganda's foreign policy is the way it is? Well, you can debate it. All I'm saying is this at least explains that Uganda is in about 6 or 7 different theaters at once, and that it has got powerful allies in this fight, particularly on the war on terror, especially the Americans and the British.
Okay, let's talk about EALA. EALA is the East African Legislative Assembly. The elections were held recently. NRM took 6 people of its choice to Arusha, where the EALA sits, and then, of course, the opposition took the rest of the seats, with the exception of FDC, which feels like it was done unfairly by the rest of the opposition. Now, starting with you, who is a sitting member of parliament, Mheshimiwa, what, in your opinion, did FDC sort of get its dickers in a twist, so to speak?
Well, first of all, congrats to our comrades from all parties of the political divide. FDC, of course, was trying to play the game of a big brother amongst the opposition people. They failed to convince them to see their logic. NRM insisted on its slots, depending on the justified position we had. And I think, to me, really, without talking much on that subject, I think FDC should assess itself. Well, were they right or wrong to withdraw from the process, and at the end of the day, face internal rebellion? Because if they were justified enough, the other parties would have followed suit.
Chris, when you look at FDC as it is now, do you sense that it has sort of divisions are beginning to emerge, and as a result it's having issues internally that were reflected in this whole process of trying to pick representatives to EALA?
I will not reduce this to FDC. I know, of course, in this they have made mistakes. So is NRM. It's actually worse there. So is DP, so is UPC. I want to comment on the Ugandan politics.
Right.
I think the level of politics is wanting, and the caliber of politicians is wanting. I think where we are, to save ourselves from this scenario, we need an enlightened citizens to take the day, and we need a few elders like Matembe here to follow the example of Bishop Nziringie. A few of them, whatever it is, that is a minor issue. We need people of that caliber who believe in themselves, who believe that this country will be there past any other person today.
What distinguishes them from everybody else?
The quality of character. The quality of character distinguishes them from any other politician. And without the quality of character, we're going to see these things playing out. So what we see today, the country has been handed to a group of wannabe politicians who see politics as an avenue for self-aggrandizement. Yes, you need money. It is who gets what, when, and how. But you get it from who?
Okay.
You get the point?
Yes.
So we need a new caliber politicians and the elders forum to begin to teach young people like Franca politics. So when they grow up, they become leaders. For now, they are politicians, not
For
leaders.
me,
Let's see, Honorable
let me tell you,
Matembe, yes.
what EALA showed, EALA elections showed me is that really Ugandans are still immature, especially the Ugandans in parliament, because they don't see Uganda as their nation. They see their parties as what matters. To me, when it is a question of getting Ugandans to represent us outside Uganda, where they are going to be defending and articulating on Uganda interests, I don't look at it in terms of the parties. And therefore, that's why I was very disappointed that the ruling government was insisting on the numbers from the NRM because they are the majority. We are all Ugandans. When we are going to EALA, we are going as Ugandans. We don't go as the national resistance movement. It kills me when Ugandans give national resistance movement precedence over Uganda as a nation. Therefore, to me, it should have been who are the most capable, effective, and eloquent and capable Ugandans who are going to defend us at EALA and pursue the interests of our country at EALA. Therefore, this whole issue, I call it nonsense. This whole issue of saying we are the majority, we must send the majority people, because after all, yes, the parliament votes, but it votes from Ugandans. Ugandans outside there, outside the parliament. To me, when I see, for instance, a gentleman like Honorable Ben Wacha, a man of distinct intelligence, a man of integrity, a man, I worked with Ben Wacha. I was a strong supporter of movement. Ben Wacha was UPC, but on the Constituent Assembly, we worked there as we were the legal drafting committee in that parliament when he used to be a chairperson of legal, when I was in movement and he is in UPC, and we used to work and do what is law and not what is movement. And you see this gentleman, in my view, I had wanted Ben Wacha to go there because they say it is the turn for Uganda to be
Speaker.
to be speaker.
EALA, yes.
So I said, we are going to get this distinguished, eloquent, intelligible, honest speaker to be there. What do I find? That Ben Wacha is beaten by somebody. I don't know. I have never heard
A young girl, Nakawuchi.
with due respect to Abamba, I don't know her.
28
And
years.
therefore, to me, to press, it should have been, if we go different views, this is how I had wanted it to be. If NRM Munange, because they say they are the majority, if they took 4 seats, and then they say independent take 1, and then the parties, because there are a number of parties in there, in other words, the opposition could have taken sharing the 4, then 1 for independent, then NRM, when NRM takes 4, it would still be in the majority because the other one would be UPC, DP1 or something. If you are debating as Ugandans, that's how I would have seen it.
Fair enough.
But when it boiled down to we are in the majority, please Ugandans, NRM, please, give us space.
But let me ask you,
are
let's
not
be clear.
superior.
Maria,
NRM is
I
not
disagree.
superior to
I disagree.
Uganda.
I
But let's
disagree.
make one
I
point
disagree
clear.
with your notion.
Yeah.
Do not trivialize the political systems we have. If Ugandans voted NRM
As
has the
if they
right.
even voted it.
Yes,
That's what
for sure.
disturbs
They
me.
did it.
What
Yes.
happened?
He
What-
just forgets
They
this
voted it at your own gathering.
nonsense.
Okay,
Respect
that
your
aside,
elder,
that aside.
She's your elder.
Even if we want to go as Ugandans,
Right.
we have chosen that Uganda is in a multi-party system.
Right.
So are our neighbors. The last show we had here on EALA, we even said that Uganda actually, among the rankings in the region, they are countries that in the future. So don't trivialize the idea that we have a multi-party arrangement in our own parliament. If that is the case, We would not be having a leader of government business. We would not be having a leader of opposition.
When did I try
We would be going. Alan, when did I try the way you said it, you call it nonsense. We would be having a parliament. Let me finish this. We would be having a parliament run on individual merit.
Let me bring you. Yes. Let me bring you in, Angelo, because we know that
everything is trivial because you
left NRM for whatever reasons, and she was you are associated with FDC.
I'm talking as a what?
I'm asking.
Did you put me in
No,
FDC?
before.
No,
Okay,
I've
fair
never belonged to any
Thank
party.
you for the clarification. But as an
So we should
outsider,
rub down the parties.
Angelo, as an outsider,
why are you-
let me bring you in.
Yeah, they're there.
Is it? What's your assessment of what transpired in this attempt to get people into EALA?
First of all, it's a stormy teacup, isn't it? There is not much to pick up in that East African Legislative Assembly. It's the institutions of the East African community are still weak. National institutions are greater. What you saw here was the political culture that Chris was trying to get into, where people are competing for offices instead of struggling to be in office. So they had two different things. You saw how FDC trampled on itself and actually got the bad end of the stick on this one. But my friend Professor Gingala Tigwa has written about this issue in the Monitor and the Sunday Monitor. But I was on the phone with him and he said something about the leadership of the opposition in Parliament. And he draws a distinction between designation and election. I think during the time he was leader of opposition, his ascent to that office was because everyone in the
opposition
elected him.
Yeah.
But after the last election, there was FDC basically was the big cat in the opposition, and basically and the complaint here even from the other smaller parties is that FDC presents its position as the position of the opposition because of its large numbers, very much in the same way that the NRM,
the majority.
Very much in the same way that NRM behaves. And he thinks that the problems that the current leader of opposition is facing is because he hasn't been really elected.
So he lacks credibility.
But another point.
Let me say this.
Hold on.
You see, all what we are trying to say here, what we are discussing is a symptom of already a bigger problem already in. The political culture needs a reconfiguration. Because the way our politics plays out today gives birth to this kind of chorus we are seeing. And that's what I'm saying. People who are schemers.
Is it part of the teething process?
Yeah,
are we going to teething? Is it part of the growth of the transition?
Already we are affected by it. So we need to speed up this growth by saying, already we see schemers occupying public space and the leaders are relegated.
What are you referring to?
No, the schemers are people who simply say, we need this number. Did not put issues at hand that we need.
His statement is right.
You see,
hold on, Frank.
You see the point?
Let's hear him.
It was another DC used to argue in the sub-counties. This is Nation TV. The point is, when you see schemers take over public space, you don't see real leaders coming out. So you don't expect any good leader to go into the gutter. That's why politics has been taken. So let's remove politics from the gutter and bring it to a level where we get leaders coming out.
Is that possible?
Now,
is politics in the gutter?
Let's not talk about a style as if we live on the month.
Right.
Ugandans have the leaders they elected themselves. The point is talking about that perhaps the leader of opposition was not elected. That's an internal issue
of the opposition.
We never saw anybody. Let me make my point. Let me make my point. I never saw anybody rioting over that. I never saw any minority report being raised from the opposition. The fact that consensus was built, that's their best choice. Now, the other point I want to make, which really Obore tries to create a drama around and try to portray that, first of all, the 9th Parliament did not pick the best, as if he has any material criticism he can place on each of the people we picked. I believe the comrades we voted for, and I really this I want to speak so strongly. From the youth movement, we are proud to have Kidega and Honorable Nusrat Tipero. I don't think anybody can challenge their credentials. Just laugh it off, because your quality is known as Obore.
But those are not the 9th Parliament only.
We've picked Honorable Dora Byamukama. So Ugandans outside there know the people they want. You can call them job seekers, because we also know anyway that manipulation has not been limited to the voting space. Manipulation has gone to the media. Manipulation has gone elsewhere.
Are you saying Obote has been manipulated?
I don't want to talk about him.
But I mean,
My last point is on what Maria talks about. I agree with you that Ben Wacha is a very competent person. But what we need to understand is that Ugandans, especially as time goes by and by, I could have voted Wacha. I don't want to tell you whom I voted for. There are many other players coming on board.
Only
you may not.
Other players.
Kindly listen to me, Madam Matembi.
You
may not know the qualities of the FDC leaning independent Nakawuchi. Nakawuchi could be as fair as Matembi because she told your activism. So you should respect the newcomers on board.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring in
Do not feel bad. Do not feel bad.
Yeah.
Do not feel bad that your own Ben Wacha, very eloquent, has been not voted. It's because there could be other competent ones.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me tell you, don't say that I'm saying that all those people who are voted there that are incompetent.
So don't be disappointed.
No, I have not said that at all.
Yes.
And in fact, now that Ben Wacha has not gone, I should be proud to learn that Dora Byamukama should take the slot of the speaker. If she doesn't, then I'll come here and complain again. Because when Ben is not there, now Dora Byamukama that she has won, I should see her take that seat.
What's wrong with Nusrat Tuperu becoming speaker?
Let me finish.
Then why not Nusrat Tuperu?
I'm a distinguished member of the legal profession.
Okay, fair enough.
And therefore, I look at it in that traditional setup. Say that when
Seniority.
we have a distinguished lawyer with such kinds of seniority and competence, then she should make us proud there.
And we chose her.
That place.
So give us credit.
Oh, you have chosen her.
No, we chose her as
Ugandan
EALA
candidate. As EALA, yes, that was right. Don't take away my. I want to talk
let's
real
go ahead.
things. I'm not disagreeing with those things,
yes.
but I want to express my disappointment here, and I think we should give our views. And I don't think I'm the only person who is disappointed that we lost out on Ben Wacha.
Yes.
And having said that, Franka Byamukama. Franka Tumwebazi, I want to tell you that not every member in that parliament really is a person of substance.
Including
you should
himself.
wait. You should agree, accept us to say that. Because me, I want to tell you, I listened to members of parliament on the TV when they were discussing Mama Mabera, that Mama Mabera had been I don't know these things.
Compromised
that
or something.
Is compromised and has gone to NRIM. I don't know. I've been out of the country since then. But members of NRIM appeared there and they are being interviewed. What do you say about this lady coming? Yeah, if she comes, that's very good because it is only in the NRIM where there is something to eat. Because I am telling you. And I said, excuse me. This guy is talking like that, and then they gave to another one. Oh, yes, if you can't go to NRIM, then you are finished.
Yellow is the best color.
Yes, can I come in there briefly? Can I come in there? Yes, thank you so much. You see, when you raise the fundamental point of the quality of leaders Ugandans speak, it takes us back. Who is doing the job of citizenry capacity building?
Who is supposed to do it?
Everybody. If you have a media,
But Frank, you keep passing the back.
If you have Ugandans vote their leaders through a free and fair democratic process. Now, we get leaders we deserve. If you want the competencies of the voters to develop such a level, to look for eloquence, to look for people with the substances, perhaps.
But can I?
My point.
But you have made the point several times.
Hold on a second. Make your point really quickly.
I come here.
Really quickly.
But you've made the same point several times.
Please. So, if you want your voters, including yourself, to pick the right leaders, build their capacities.
Angelo.
Have journalists who write sense.
Voters are not
Do you know that it is incumbent upon government to educate and mobilize its people about
hold on a second. Hold on.
This quality of leaders we are saying is not a vote of confidence in.
Now, what's the relevance of that?
Hold on a second, guys.
If that's the material,
go ahead, Angelo.
You're a leader.
Frank and
talk.
Angelo, go ahead.
I was in the north, in Gulu, and then in my hometown of Moyo over the last week. And the issue we're discussing with my colleagues is about the mentality of these peasants you call citizens and you call voters. Now, to go back to your point,
voters.
I asked them,
If you don't
why
buy
is
them,
it
they will do the right thing.
exactly, and then that's the point.
I'm telling you,
You know,
they
So
know
you
what
vote
they
for-
want.
you vote for anyway,
Frank, restrain yourself for a second. You know
Why
what?
did they vote you?
Look,
Because I'm
by the way,
Angelo, let's hear Angelo, please.
the reason
Let's-
people
let's
may
accord him
vote
that
you
kind
is
of-
because you may be the loudest. But peasants are not quite stupid. They are,
know.
in a sense, rejecting the quality of politics by sending lousy people to parliament.
Is that true? Is that
Yeah, I would say why. Because politics has become so transactional. Peasants have accepted that you will not go and represent them, so they will take your money but allow you to what? To go after all. You don't represent
they have
their interests.
expectations of their politicians?
Yes. And I was looking at this
Which-
quality, Frank, in relation to all the NGOs that had congregated in the north. Me and my colleagues were doing some research, and I asked them, why is it, for instance, that peasants take money from these NGOs? They have put a levy, a tax on them being poor. You want to help them, they will say, well, but you see you're driving a four-wheel drive. It must be that you have money. So your intention is not really to help me.
Which is right.
Yes, and then you know how they respond?
Yes.
For you to execute your poverty eradication strategy, they say, well, pay me every time I come to attend your focus groups.
And you know why?
Now, the corollary on that is in politics, because politics has also been monetized. Now, the way I came to this question was, the Catholic Church in the North is celebrating its centenary. And I asked, why is it that peasants will take from the NGOs and give to the church? Because they have a relationship of trust
With the church. Yeah.
and not with the what?
Okay, let's
And not
come to
with
this
these
point though
NGOs.
of the state of the opposition, Chris Obore.
Yeah.
When you look at the way the results ended with Nandala Bamfabi, the honorable leader of opposition, basically saying that he does not want to have anything to do with traitors in the name of DP and UPC. How does that leave the opposition?
May I comment
Is it?
that?
Yes.
Go.
You will in a moment.
You see, it comes back to the point I was telling you that the reconfiguration of politics is not required today. The problems we see in our politics are not held by NRM. It affects every political party. So we are talking the crop of politics we have today desires to be reconfigured. Because even in opposition, they are career politicians. They are career opposition. They simply want to be in opposition as a vehicle to be in the
Can I
parliament.
ask you about
You
it? A
see,
brief question. A brief question. Don't be sensitive when I ask you something serious. Now, you want to reconfigure the politics. You have career politicians. You have unserious
to ask
job
the question,
seekers. What are you going to do to achieve exactly what you want? It is in NRM, it's in the opposition.
That's a
What
fair
are you going to
question.
do?
Yeah.
Exactly, that's how I'm
Be
here.
relevant.
You see what I'm doing
Yeah.
here? I am telling Ugandans listening now that we need to get out of the Tumwe bases, call on Miriam Matembe,
Oh, Tumwe
call on
bases.
Niringie, call on other elders, call out to the elite. Actually, the elite in this country is not
Call
in the
them
politics.
where?
Isn't the elite,
Listen.
isn't the elite of Uganda the
I
reason why we are
Where?
from?
Can I make the point? This man is another this. I know where he comes from. So sometimes I tolerate him. Let us allow the real elite to come into the politics. Because what we see today are elite who are scheming, who have seen the average men making money and they join them. So you find in FDC, there are people who became FDC because at that time, simply mentioning FDC would guarantee you going to parliament. They don't even understand the reason of FDC.
So what do you
up to
think is
them,
going
they
to
are
happen
there.
to the opposition?
So there are
there?
few elders in FDC who understand the need to reconfigure politics.
Honorable
But then
Matembe.
from
Let
there,
Matembe,
you-
yeah.
but then
I will say
if we
something.
don't do that, Miriam Matembe,
Yeah.
we are going to have leaders like Frank here in Kamwenge, play a clip on NTV here. 800 people are dying of elephantiasis. Is he abusing journalists? And he's a leader.
Okay, but let's
So
hear
elephantiasis.
from
What does elephantiasis have
Elephantiasis.
to, what does elephantiasis have to do with the show?
Honorable
You are the
Matembe.
leader.
Honorable,
You are the
Gentlemen,
leader.
gentlemen, restrain
I
yourself.
want
You
to
know even
say
the cause of
this.
elephantiasis?
Yes.
I want to say this as the former Minister for Ethics and Integrity, who, by the way, established that ministry. The level of moral decadence and ethical degeneration in this country, which permeates all levels of society, has destroyed values and systems. And therefore, the leadership we get is certainly symptomatic of the people who elected it. It cannot be different. And this type of leadership.
So this is a big assignment.
Let me finish my statement. This type of leadership is not people-centered and service-oriented. It is a transactional of ambitious leadership whose concern is their own personal interests. And what I want to say in this country, I want to tell the Ugandans that at 50 years of independence, I think time has come when we must revisit ourselves and reflect. We need a transformative leadership in this country which will be committed to the people's concern, which will be committed to service, which will go out and mobilize Ugandans about their personal interests, about their love for their nation, about commitment to service.
Okay.
A godly leadership. That's what we need. Therefore, don't praise the opposition.
Thank you very
don't
much.
praise the NRM.
Honorable
They are all the same.
Business
Those who don't know. Those who don't know.
All of them are
There's no
businessmen.
difference.
Those who don't know, Honorable Matembe is now working a
Mary.
lot as an evangelist and as a preacher, so don't be
Yes,
surprised.
at all.
I'm going to say thank you very much
But
to
one
my
point
panelists.
Can I end with
We're
one
finishing
point?
now,
One point I want to
unfortunately.
end with.
Yeah, we need to
Let's
finish.
not be pessimists. Let's not lament all the time.
God,
Let's build confidence.
Yeah.
Let's build confidence and trust the leaders we have.
Okay, fair enough.
Criticize them. Give them credit where they've done the best.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much.
And finally,
And Chris, very briefly.
the elite are standing on the fence. The elite don't want to get into politics. The elite don't want to get into business.
Who is
the elite?
Listen, they are looking at business
Who is the elite?
as a lower class.
Who is the elite?
So they are going into consultancy. They run some of them.
Make your point.
What's wrong with
Finish.
So the point is,
finished.
we need to bring people who understand politics, not to remember
Who are
who
those?
lives for die with
That's
elephant.
fine,
Yes,
but
okay.
and he's here.
My
Thank you very much.
And then we have the last
When
one.
politics became clean here,
Yes.
when NRM
When was
came
it?
here,
When was it clean?
no wait,
When
when
was-
NRM came in 1986,
When
and we
we
embraced,
were still voted and opposed.
Guys,
and embraced all of
Can I take
us
over?
and played clean politics.
Yes.
People were interested.
Educated people, professionals went into politics.
Thank you
When
very
you-
much.
Now it is too dirty.
When you lost,
This is for
I'm gonna say-
when
I'm
you
gonna say-
lost, it became dirty.
Guys, can I finish now?
No, I cannot. You don't know what you're talking
I
about.
cannot shut up.
Okay, I'm going to say thank you very
When
much
you
to my
lost,
panelists who are still fighting
Are
amongst
they dirty or they are
themselves.
not?
My name is Alan Kasija. Thank you to Angela Izama. Thank you to Miriam
Oh,
Matembe.
no.
Thank you to Chris Obore. And thank you very much to Frank, to members as well.
This is another DC.